Crypto DLT with MrConectr. Be sure to subscribe. Hit the notification bell for daily content. Let's go.
So my predictions for this year are, right now, all markets are down, right? We see the stock market is down, crypto market's down. So now is a time when there are a lot of people building, there's a lot of stuff happening in the background. You may not see it because it's not as loud, although I would argue that it does feel kind of loud even though the markets are down.
Yeah.
Things are going to change over this year where the market goes in up and down cycles. The next, bull cycle, you could call it, we will have this technology embedded into the credit union. So this year, my predictions are you're going to see the first MetalPay API and Metallicus integrations go live in credit unions.
Okay.
We're going to begin to see the credit union and banking world get much more integrated with this tech. I predict by this year you will see the first credit union and bank-based stablecoins due to the new legislation passing. We're going to see some winners and some losers. And the losers are going to be the ones that fail to have interoperability and compliance baked into the chain. So I think by the end of this year, we'll see the first credit union and bank-based stablecoins. The Genius Act and Clarity Act, I believe, will pass. I think the guidance from from Chairman Kyle Hoffman at the NCUA is fantastic. There's some things I have some comments on, but overall it's very good. And I think it's going to go through. And in doing that, we're going to have the next crypto bull run, if you call it, will be the institutional bull run. So it's going to be very exciting.
Why is stablecoin so hot right now?
It all comes down to what I would say DeFi. I think that DeFi is the revolution in finance. It's taking the traditional financial products and rails and decentralizing them, making them global, interoperable, 24/7, without the need of necessarily a human intervention to do everything. And in doing that, it's made lending and borrowing rates more dynamic and efficient.
No doubt.
And really, crypto is good for many things, has many values and uses. I think, payments is one of them, e-commerce, digital identity. There's so many different areas. But when people ask me, what are people doing with crypto? Why should I use crypto today? Besides owning a Bitcoin or owning some digital assets, using decentralized finance to leverage that, to become a lender or a borrower, to be able to lend digital assets and, for example, maximize yield on, for example, if you're lending, maybe you're earning by being a lender using the MetalX loan protocol. You can also borrow a little bit and stake it and optimize on top of that. There are opportunities with finance that are, when you're used to seeing a rate of, I could get 4% or I could get 3 or 4%. Well, DeFi has blown way past that. People are, if they're not getting 8 to 10%, then they're not really happy with DeFi. And I think that traditionally, the only places that you used to see that were like hard money lending.
There's no doubt in my mind, cryptocurrency is going to replace traditional finance, TradFi, and it's happening so fast. I mean, cryptocurrency is literally outpacing, the growth of the internet, in the 90s, Charles. And I've never been so clear about something. I've never been able to see something so clearly in my life, and it's been a lot of fun to be a part of this. It's going to be one of the great Bitcoin companies anywhere in the world. And clearly, there's no doubt in my mind, cryptocurrency is going to replace traditional finance, TradFi.
Cryptocurrency replace TradFi. Let's go crypto. What's up, everybody? It's MrConectr. Hope you guys are doing good on this Saturday. All right, back again streaming 2 days in a row. You got me. Right on. Cool. Let's get the show going. Let's get it on the road. Yeah, guys, I love Marshall Hayner from Metallicus. He is bullish. He's laying it out for you guys. It's coming. We know it's coming. We just have to have the patience, you know. All right. Well, what's up, everybody in the chat? We got Silver Days. First on the podium, Turple Nurple coming in second and third. Ravenous. What's up, Ravenous? 1337. I'm doing great on this Saturday. Let's go. Conectr says Silver Days. Cool. Let's get right into it. We got another one here from Smoke Dog. Chairman Schlegg will swiftly implement the Clarity Act once it's enacted into law. So the CFT chairman, Schlegg, to swiftly introduce regulatory proposals to implement a new regulatory legal framework. So yeah, once the bills are passed, we saw it with the Genius Act. You know, nothing's really happened with the Genius Act. Takes a while for this stuff to get going after it gets passed. So the effective date is not the same as the passage date, but you've got these commissioners that are ready to roll. They're ready to roll it out. Let's see. K&L Gates is also talking about it. The Clarity Act is enacted. Once it's acted into law, we expect Chairman Schlegg to swiftly introduce regulatory proposals to implement the new legal framework. There we go. Let's get it implemented. Let's get it going. Because Smoke Dog was asking the question, how quickly can banks use XRP once the Clarity Act is implemented? Full implementation, including testing, 2 to 3 months, in some cases as fast as 3 weeks. So that's the whole RippleNet getting new customers, new banks on board, 2 to 3 months. But some are already ready to roll, and it's only 3 weeks to get these entities up and going on RippleNet.
Which I think should be quite comfortable for you. How long is the implementation process to get started with Ripple?
Yeah, so typically we look at about a 2 to 3 month basis from start to finish. A lot of that is part of the onboarding process. So we go through a credit review process. We then have an onboarding process. That's relatively straightforward. In terms of the technical integration side, it can take between, I'd say, probably 1 to 2 months. That includes things like testing.
And that's just each individual entity signing up with RippleNet. That's not the ones that have already signed up. That's future cases. Okay, come on, let's get going. Let's look at the Conectr coins past 24 hours. We are pretty much flat. Some are in the green. Midnight's up. I hope you guys were able to get some of those midnight airdrops. Airdrops are a little risky, but the projects reward you for participating. Any type of airdrop, guys, what I do is I'll use like the wallet. Once the snapshot's taken, I'll actually move the coins out of that wallet into another wallet, because that frees up that wallet with no risk. You've moved the coins out of it before you even claim the airdrop. So, different wallets for different use cases. That's a thing. A lot of you guys have multiple wallets out there. Some of you guys have, your trader wallet, you call it. That's a smaller wallet. You could even be an extension. I don't really like the extension wallets on the browser extensions. There's a lot of vulnerabilities there. But if you're getting into these projects and just playing around with them, don't put much on them. I wouldn't put much on an extension wallet. To me, the best wallet out there is a deleted wallet. That's not on your phone. And this is long-term storage. There's no app on your phone. You've deleted the app off your phone. There's no hardware device. There's nothing anywhere except maybe your C word scribed into a piece of metal somewhere. That's the only, that's the best. That's a, what do you call a paper wallet, but it's a metal wallet. Your C words are scribed onto metal. And that's probably the best solution out there for safety, if you're going to do it yourself. A lot of people don't even want to self-custody to their wallets. But Midnight's up a little bit, and our Sentinel is up again today. That's crazy, guys. I've been on this, caught the bottom of that pretty good a couple weeks ago. Told you guys about Sentinel peer-to-peer. It's not much to talk about because there's only, the volume is only like less than $100,000 a day. So that's nothing compared to what could be. So that little investment might go a long ways. Once you see those zeros behind that decimal point, guys, if we get down that low where there was 4 zeros and a, what was it, a 4 or 5, 4 zeros and a 5, and we see that many zeros and there's only so many coins, only, you know, of course, make sure there's less than 1 trillion coins when you've got that many zeros, because it wouldn't matter how many zeros you got. But there was only 34 billion of these coins, and it was 4 zeros. So that's pretty wild. Doing really good on that. Canton, we saw that guy was interviewed by Paul Barron. Couldn't find it on Paul Barron's channel, but I found it. Rule Black was covering it. If you guys follow him, he was showing the guy from Canton. Not a very good first impression from Canton, from what I've seen. He was very smarmy. You know, I don't know. I don't know what to think about it. A lot of good technology, a lot of great companies building on Canton. We'll see what happens with that. I need to follow or look more into what's those guys that cover Canton, Cypress X and Aquaman. I need to watch a little bit more on Canton about them before I get into it. Velo had a good pop yesterday. It's 5% up. Come on, let's keep going. You know, I don't really like to cover the charts. I just like to look at current prices and all. I hope you guys are doing good in the chat. Let's go. Conectr says silver days. All right. Top crypto gainers and losers today. And we'll get into the news in just a second. Siren must be a meme coin, up 130%. And Chili's up 14%. And next on the agenda, this is not what I wanted. I want to say I've got I like coin, you know, I got away from CoinMarketCap for a while, but they have so many options now. And I think this was my Made in America crypto categories. Let me cut that music down in the background. Anybody interested in following my second channel is in the description. I do a lot of synth work, original performances over there on my DAWless radio. Give me a subscribe over there. Turple says, I believe Canton is a CIA project just like Zcash. I would not doubt that at all. I wouldn't doubt that a large percentage of some of these projects are, yeah. I need to get my, not privacy. Where's my Made in America crypto list? We'll get back to that. Let's look at the privacy coins. Of course, Midnight's up the most, and our Sentinel peer-to-peer VPN. Ticker is P2P. They're actually getting away from the Cosmos ecosystem. You know, they were big on Cosmos. God, Cosmos, what a disappointment for a great chain that has been. I need to reset all these because I had it all lined up. How about the crypto events calendar? Tomorrow is Sunday, the 29th. Let's see if there's anything going on. Nope. And maybe Monday. Nope. We're just going through the calendar. Cool. Let's keep going. Let's go right to our crypto panic and see what news is going on out there. Won't stay on too long today. Maybe another 30 minutes or so. Go enjoy the nice Saturday. A little chilly where I'm at, but no problem here. Morgan Stanley sets spot Bitcoin ETF fee. Yeah, here's where they make the money right there. Fees. They will fee you to death, guys. That's the whole point. You know, that a lot of these places aren't even looking at price go up, price go down. They're only worried about the volume of the transactions, you know, and the fees that they're going to make off these transactions. Ethereum recovers. Kalshi secures license in margin trading. Tim Draper on Bitcoin and the future financial system. After the automobile, people still ride horses for a while. Yeah. Maybe they talking about Bitcoin there. People are still going to ride Bitcoin. Just looking through, Elizabeth Warren probes Bitmain over U.S. national security risks. I would say, yeah, be worried about Bitmain. Be worried about what's going on over here in your circle, Miss Elizabeth Warren. We've got banks sending up to $12,500 to customers following major data breach. Which bank is this? Let's see. Bank in the U.S. is settling with customers. Cadence Bank in the South, headquartered in the South, paying out damages. Lido plans, or Lido, is that Lido State plans 8.5% buyback to fix the price. Silverday says Coinbase does predictive markets betting. I did see that yesterday, actually. And yes, death by fees. Oh my goodness. Okay. Yeah, I was looking into that Axiom, where you can send over your XRP through the Squid router, Axelar Squid router, and it shows up in your Ethereum wallet, as XRP. But they did something on their user interface where it doesn't accept my wallet anymore. So I was using this Kepler wallet for my XRP, but I think they did away with like Wallet Connect or something like that. Well, now they only take 4 or 5 different wallets, main wallets like the MetaMask and all that, and Base, a couple other different things. But financial services hit with massive data breach. Some of you guys probably saw that meme going around yesterday about the what was that Obama movie, The World Left Behind, I think, where the family was on vacation and all of a sudden all the internet went out. Imagine what would happen if the internet went out. I've always kind of speculated that something like that would happen. Massive internet outage, be down for a couple of days, because I do believe we're going to a new peer-to-peer internet where you need to, prove yourself, prove who you are in order to deal with the company or the distributed application, right? But, that we've got to stress, I can't stress high enough that we need self-sovereign digital ID, not just digital ID. We need to be in control of our own data, and we need to have say-so of who gets that data. We need to approve that, not governments. We need to be the ones approving that. And yes, governments can attest to who we are. That's how that's going to work, hopefully. Self-sovereign ID, SSI, not digital ID. I don't hear enough people talking about that. We need to demand that, We need a whole digital bill of rights, really. We need to fix this country. I need a windscreen on this mic. I'll figure something out. Every once in a while to overload. Silver says, no internet is very easy to do, and all phones go down also. Yeah, there's only like 13 root servers in the world for the internet, for the landlines. And the, Starlink, people think Starlink's going to be up if the internet goes out. Well, Starlink connects to the ground bases. So I'm not sure how that's going to work. Starlink needs the ground internet as well. So we'll see. Maybe Russia did a test a couple years ago where they separated themselves from the world as far as the internet. They made sure their own internet was separate and that it was resilient. So maybe the landlines will be separate, and then the Starlink will hook countries up, and maybe that'll be the way of sanctions, like being able to use the Starlink internet. We got to find a new way of sanctions with all this, these new payment routes that are going through. Iran is at 99% internet outage at the moment. Is that why? I don't know. I don't know a lot about the war and what's going on. I start out of like everything's a scam. You got to convince me what the truth is. I've been like that for a long time. So I don't know enough about what's going on over there at Iran. But I do know, the internet outage. But the White House released a new app. I'd be scared about downloading a government app, but it's kind of weird that my DVPN, the Sentinel, has been exploding at the same time that the White House has released a VPN app. That's what that is. Maybe if y'all missed it at White House. If y'all missed it, the White House released a app. Where is it? Let's see. Let me go back. And they teased about it for a couple of days, and it was basically a nothing burger that came out. But it allows, there it is. It allows a VPN connection for anybody in the, I assume anybody in the world to connect to this White House app. And once you go onto the app, you use the app to use the internet, right? To use to get your data unfiltered, uncensored, supposedly. So I don't know if that has anything to do with the peer-to-peer VPN that I've been checking out. Monitor the situation 24/7. Maybe it's just an attempt to roll out the truth or their truth. We shall see about that. But let's keep an eye on the White House app. I don't know. And it's on Google Play and the Apple Store. I'm kind of leery about downloading a government app into my phone. Of course, all these, when you think about it, though, there's backdoors into all the new social media apps, I'm sure. So, you saw what happened recently with even with Telegram. And you saw, isn't Slack messaging? So Brian Armstrong yesterday on my video for Coinbase, he was, he can get his AI agent to give him a rundown of what's going on behind the scenes with all his employees' Slack messages. That's wild stuff. Be careful out there. And again, I mentioned it yesterday. Don't, or actually go in, if you're using AI chatbots or whatever, go into your AI, make sure that it's set to private, because we've got people using chatbots now to ask, what's Tyler doing in Ohio? I mean, what's somebody doing around the world right now? And the AI replies, Tyler in Ohio is typing out such and such message to his girlfriend, but he keeps deleting it. I saw that the other day. So the AIs are telling on what you're doing to other people, and in real time. So it's pretty wild. But what Brian Armstrong, from Coinbase, he had gotten information. It's helpful. I guess it's all within his company, so it's all his employees. So they all sign up for all, their messages to be read by Brian, I guess. But on to Brian, we've got some bookmarks for him. Digital asset investor, nice day. For a reminder, this guy had no problem with government when it came to delisting XRP. So don't forget that, guys. We've got Coinbase out there fighting for clarity, for the rewards for us. Let's see what DAI had him here back in 2023, June 11th.
Generally, when we hear updated information from regulators, we go in and we talk to them. We say, great, if the rules have changed, how can we adjust? And an example of that was they said XRP we think might be a security. We said, okay, we want to act in good faith. We'll delist it. We don't know if it's a security or not, and that court case is still playing out. But
they acted in good faith and delisted XRP, and there was no ruling or nothing yet. And it was years that we couldn't get XRP from Coinbase.
But we want to be collaborative and work with regulators.
And XRP is not a security. That's right, Silver Days.
And something shifted about a year ago. A totally different tone started to happen.
That's because Ripple started battling Goliath. They started going up against the government.
And we kind of got this information from the SEC that, well, actually, we think everything other than Bitcoin is a security. And we kind of said to ourselves, well, that's not our understanding of the law. How are you coming to this conclusion? Generally.
So he went ahead and delisted it. And then and they end up, XRP was not a security after all. So what's going on now brings us to modern day. We've got Brian currently working on Clarity. I don't know why Senator, what's his name, yesterday said that the Clarity bill is done for as far as Congress. The Democrats and Republicans have agreed. The White House has agreed, but he just needs industry to get on board. Why does he? The industry doesn't vote for this, so I'm not sure why they're these. Of course, it's the lobbyists that are in there, and the senators won't actually vote without the lobbyists. So you've got industry trying to relay to Congress what they want. But Congress votes. Super Day says, Uphold for the win. They are the only way. Yeah, that's right. They were the only way to get the XRP for the 4.5 lawsuit. Yeah, pretty much the only way. There's a couple other small ways, but the most liquidity definitely on Uphold. They will fee you too, but they are a business just like anybody else, Guys, make sure you do it. Some of your trading is cheaper on chain. So if you're trying to get into a stable coin, you might not want to do that on a centralized exchange. If you're cashing out or whatever, you might want to trade it on the ledger for, RLUSD or USDC before you send it over there. That way you don't have the big conversion fees. Just be careful doing all that. Soon your agent will be able to do all that for you. We'll find the best route. Your agent will be looking all across the world at all these different exchanges, on chain and off chain, to find the best, price for your asset. John Squire says Clarity pressure is on now. Patrick Witt warned Coinbase to act now or risk losing the Clarity Act. The pressure is building and the window is closing fast. Big decisions are made behind the scenes. So I'm not sure why he's got so much say-so in this, but he sure does. Dagna PI says Trump didn't kill crypto. Senate didn't kill crypto. Coinbase killed crypto. Benefit of learning this space and the behind the scenes on chain, getting into these cold wallets and staking your assets. You don't have to pay this fee that some of these exchanges are charging. So Coinbase takes a commission on the rewards you receive from the network, from the on-chain. So they're doing it on-chain, just like you can stake it on-chain, right? Our standard commission is 35% for ADA, Atom, AVAX, DOT, so on. And then you can sign up for Coinbase One, and it goes down to 31.75. So you can pay to get a 31% fee instead of a 35% fee. Wow. Yeah, and make sure, guys, when you're doing a send or signing anything with any app, you're looking at the fees on each transaction. Every single on-chain transaction you do, you better be looking at these fees that they're charging, these wallets. They could sneak something in. You can set it to where there's a leeway, maybe set it at a certain percentage of the transaction can't go above that for the fee or it won't go through, But I've heard some bad tales out there about somebody just signing a transaction, not realizing this thing's charging who knows how much fees, Be careful out there. And Crypto Barbie says, never forget that Epstein invested $3 million into Coinbase in 2014. Coinbase was literally financed by this guy. Never forget. I mean, I'm sure that they had a lot of $3 million. That's not much when it comes to the total financing for Coinbase, but that's not nothing. $3 million in 2014 to keep going. And we saw where in the letters, the emails, the files about him investing into, what was it? Was it Ripple or XRP? I'm pretty sure it was probably a Ripple, a round for Ripple, and as well, right? I think, yeah, that was one of the first things that came out. What was his name? Was it? Forget who was running that Bitcoin company that wrote to Jeffrey and said, "What are you doing investing on both sides of this thing?" Right? Because Ripple was a direct threat to the Bitcoin operation that they were running. But Jeffrey was investing on both sides of it. But that's what, when you think about history, that's what banks do. They invest on both sides of the wars. You know, they win-win, right? Lots of knowledge out there that they use to make these bets, and knowledge is power. And I just hope that we're going to a better place with all this crypto stuff coming and all this transparency. I hope I got a good feeling about the world being in a better place with transparency. You know, there's a lot of problems out there that could be solved with self-sovereign digital identity. Look at what James O'Keefe is doing out in California right now. He's going out there dressed undercover as a bum, or homeless, I'm sorry. Shouldn't be, I don't think that's the right term, bum. But anyway, he's dressed as a homeless guy, and he's going around to these petitioners, and they're paying him money to sign these ballots, to sign these petitions. So, you know, he doesn't put his own name. He asks the petitioner, you know, what name should I put down? The petitioner's got a list of actual people in that county. It's got their first and last name. It's got their zip code, and that's all they give them, because they make up a fake street address, and they use the real name and the real zip code, and they'll sign that person's name, and they'll get paid 2 cigarettes, or, you know, $1 or $2, or some drugs. They'll actually give them drugs right there on the street out there for signing these petitions. So there's no linkage to the actual person, to the actual vote, what they're doing. They've got so many programs out there that they're doing this with. You know, think of all the agendas that are started by fake petitions. You got to get, I don't know, so many signatures on a petition to get the ball rolling on something. But really, nobody voted for this stuff. They're all just fake votes from homeless people that are being paid to vote for this. So everybody, once we get that self-sovereign digital identity, that's a thing of the past. All kinds of problems will be solved. Lots of fraud will be solved. We've got Smoke Dog right here. Ripple's Marcus Infinger. This is what is next for XRP Ledger, bringing more RWAs as part of a traditional finance world on chain.
Yes, so I would say XRP Ledger has really been built for business, built for powering real-world financial use cases. First and foremost, starting with payments, but now what we're seeing is really for use cases to expand beyond that. You see a lot of RWA tokenization use cases, and just really like, you know, a tool and core infrastructure to bring more of the financial world or financial activity we see in the real world on chain, to remove frictions, build efficiencies, create values for us all, frankly.
So what do you think needs to happen? Like, what other challenges do we need to overcome to get to that point where everyone's more financially included?
Yeah, so there's a couple of pieces that still need to fall in place, I would say, on the regulatory front. And look, we've demonstrated with Ripple that, you know, you can use blockchain technology today in a way that's compatible with compliance frameworks. And we're doing that, as said before, in the billions of dollars every year in terms of doing payments way at a fraction of the cost and the time than in legacy systems. So it's possible, right? I think if you want to enlarge and see more, like there's over $1 quadrillion of financial assets off-chain. And, you know, if you want to see, I don't know, 10% of that coming on chain. We have like maybe 150 billion in terms of stablecoin so far. Regulation, I would say, is a key piece in terms of surveys we're doing for more of TradFi to come on chain, but that's now starting to really fall more in place. Think of Mika in Europe or Singapore or UAE.
It's all coming on chain. Speaking of that, real world assets coming on chain. I had caught somebody's comment yesterday about that. Yeah, Isaiah Effie's. What's up, Isaiah? So he had a good post here. That most RWA narratives are stuck on one idea. You just tokenize the asset, like houses, cars, or bonds. You wrap them on chain and call it innovation. But here's the reality. If an asset isn't actively used, tokenization just turns into idle speculation. So you got to think about what's coming with all of these RWAs, being able to lock them up in DeFi, all kinds of different use cases. He says the real shift isn't ownership. That's the easy part. That's just a digital twin. That's all these entities that are tokenizing. But it's utilization plus data, because today data carries more leverage than ownership. Let's simplify it. Every physical asset has 3 layers of value. There's the static value, what it's worth when it's sold. There's the utility, what it earns on top of that when it's used. And then there's data. It's what its usage reveals over time. This third data layer, most ignored, is the most powerful. Usage patterns, demand zones, revenue consistency. That's what turns assets into scalable systems. And most platforms barely scratch the surface. And now he's touting ShareX network. I haven't looked into this, but I just wanted to bring that to your attention, that data, the third layer of RWA, is the most powerful. What it's doing, all that can be marketed. What demand zones create the most utility out of it? Which way did this asset earn the most money? Did this asset earn the most money in yield farming or whatever? And the usage patterns of the asset on chain. But this ShareX is not just bringing assets on chain. He might be a part of this project, I'm not sure, but it's building a live intelligence layer for the real world infrastructure. I just thought that was something to keep in the back of our minds about how much more than just tokenizing an asset is going on. Every submission does more than it seems. It pins a real device to a location. So there's your real world DPN layer there. Pins a real device to a location, creates a verifiable data point, and expands a growing map of usage. The map is the real asset. Because once you control that layer, you can direct demand efficiency, price based on real usage, spot the inefficiencies early, and allocate capital with precision. Think beyond ownership models. Platforms like ride sharing didn't win by owning assets. They won by owning data and demand flow. Now imagine the model, decentralized, permissionless, on chain. That's where it's heading. And he's saying that Treasure X might be simple on the surface, but underneath it's solving the hardest RWA problems. Mapping, verification, monetization, data, discovery, verification, standardization, and monetization order matters. What is he touting here? I haven't even looked at this. It's ShareX, the Web3 based sharing economy, bringing millions of IRL in real life shared devices on chain, powering real world actions, assets, adoptions. We have only just begun with real world assets and what's possible out there. Treasure X. First time I'm seeing this, but I do like the way that he's putting that. Cool. Let's keep moving. What did I miss? Let me get rid of that one. Oh yeah, and this Polaris shut down. Guys, I love the Cosmos network. What a disappointment that's been. It is one of the best interoperability layers out there, the IBC system. You know, they've been, Sonny and them, they've been, you know, there's a lot of infighting. I don't keep up with any of that between the Osmosis team and the Cosmos team. I hear there's a lot of fighting going on. I have no clue what's going on with that. But Sonny, they were working with Ripple back in the day, long time ago. I mean, we saw GDLT play that summit. ILP loves the XR. No, I'm sorry. What was it? The IBC loves the ILP, Interledger Protocol, loves the inter-blockchain communication. You know, that's been so disappointing what's happened to the Cosmos price. Been holding up for a while. So a couple months ago, I was showing you guys this Polaris app that Sonny and them are building on Cosmos, and what it was app that you can trade anything on: XRP, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cosmos, everything, anything and everything. And then a couple months later, here we go. Polaris is shutting down. Please finalize your pending transactions and withdraw any remaining assets. So that's what happens though sometimes, guys, when we're on the cusp of exploring different technologies and something brand new come out, and oh, it's shiny and sharp and good looking. But, you know, it takes a lot to keep it going. It's got to have a little momentum right at the beginning to get that liftoff going, but it just didn't do anything for us. So yeah, I was looking forward to checking out the Polaris app, but never got to, and it is out of mind, out of sight, no more. Okay, come on, let's keep going. DEAI is posted again. The Battle of Bretton Woods. Doctors Ben Steele and Gillian Tett. Make no mistake, X money is a vital part of the new Bretton Woods system, the reset. Libra was denied. X money is happening. Plans years in the making. Now, I don't know what's going to happen with this X money and Elon. I do know that I voted to give Elon, I think it was 10 billion XPR network tokens if he'll use them on the X platform. That was probably a year or two ago, right after he took over X. So he has that option to use that, and he's, you know, it's going to be stable coins. Cross River Bank is going to run this platform for him, but you've got a Ripple partner with Cross River. You've got Metallic is partnered with Cross River. Nobody talks about that. A bunch of big chains are partnered with Cross River. So maybe they'll use all of them. Who knows? There's so many options. Let's see what's going on.
How do digital currencies change this? Could Libra be a new quasi-Bancor? Could something coming out of Alipay or Tencent, or, you know, are digital currencies going to provide in any way, shape or form the disruptive element that breaks the stalemate and perhaps starts a whole new conversation?
So, well, do you guys know what Bancor coin is? I think you probably do. BANCOR? Is it Bancor? BANCOR coin? You know, that was a Ethereum exchange. You know, that was built on Reggie Middleton's DeFi technology. And then they built Sushi out of that technology, and then they built all these different dexes, layer 2 Ethereum dexes off of Reggie's technology. I still hold a few Veritaseum. We'll see if he ever gets any traction with that. Bancor. I don't think there's any history on Bancor coin, but anyway, that was an idea back in the day that there'd be this one middle bridge asset coin, this free floating currency that would sit in between the pound and the dollar, the yen and the franc. You know, what does that sound like? That sounds like modern day bridge digital currencies, right?
With maybe dirty motives all over again, but perhaps a chance to reset.
We have to take it seriously. I personally was rather taken aback with Chairman Powell's comments last week on Libra, which showed demonstrated more concern than I expected him to express publicly, saying that there was a lot to investigate here. So I think he was making clear that this is not an initiative that's going to go forward without very significant input from the various arms of the U.S. government, and for good reason. I mean, if Facebook should go forward with creating its own currency, Facebook has, 2.5 billion users? So this would effectively be creating a new monetary collective, almost the size of China and India put together.
Yeah, these social media platforms like Facebook, X platform, the super apps, that the SEC talks about. It's going to be wild. We've seen what China has done with like Alipay and all that over the years. So this is going to be interesting.
Overnight. And
that
that I do believe could pose a fundamental challenge to what we have viewed to date as being the prerogatives of monetary sovereignty, of state sovereignty in the monetary sphere.
Well, being a bit cynical on the basis of the conversations last week in Paris, I think that actually, the issue at stake is what a stable coin would be tied to. And if it's tied to a US dollar and under the control of the Fed, then actually it suddenly might become a bit more acceptable because you're de facto having dollarization of the world. But
yeah, especially when they take these stable coins and you can deposit them, and then they can fractionally reserve your stable coins. Now they can split them up. If they're deposits, they're going to be able to keep their whole Ponzi scheme going. So we need to see a lot of change here, guys. All I'm seeing is the legacy system being turned digital. That's all I'm seeing so far on Congress. There's no accountability for who's gotten it to this problem that's going on. It's a mess, and they just want to create the new system out of treasury bonds. Stable coins minted from treasury bonds. So, that's the plan, I guess. Vivek says new U.S. bill lets you pay taxes in Bitcoin and removes capital gains tax on Bitcoin. I think it was $200 that they're touting to if the payment's beneath $200, and I think it's only stable coins. Let's see what he says. A series of questions here. Number one. This volume's like really low. Let me see what I can do here. My bad. Let me crank the EQ up on the mids. Bitcoin Reserve. Congressman Davidson joins me now. Congressman, a series of questions here. Number one, what is a Bitcoin Reserve? What does it do? And how do you build it?
Well, first of all, the president created a strategic reserve of Bitcoin in part because the United States government didn't have like a single custodian. You had every agency in the government that might have had an asset, seized an asset, or anything else, any kind of digital asset. They didn't have custody of it, so they were losing track of the private keys. So essentially, when you lose your keys, it's like losing a pile of cash.
Yeah.
So they created an organized way and put it under Treasury to say, hey, we're going to have a single custodian for all of the Bitcoin, kind of like Fort Knox for crypto. Right. And then they said, well, we can't even keep track of Fort Knox. How are we going to keep track of that?
All crypto is created equally. Bitcoin we want to hold on to. It's an appreciating asset over a long period of time. Some of these other things, we should just sell them off and buy more Bitcoin. But they wanted to do it in a deficit neutral way. And I think a lot of people have been like, well, how else do you put money in there? And so we're introducing legislation that not only codifies that executive order, so there's a common sense way to have custody for the Bitcoin and other digital assets, but you can contribute. So when you pay your taxes, you can pay your taxes in Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is currency in that sense, and there's no capital gains.
All right, so they're probably going to keep it after you pay your taxes in Bitcoin. They're not going to cash it out anymore. They're going to hold it. They're going to hodl it. Smoke Dog says, This is what Clarity Act means for digital asset market. Here are some of the key benefits that Clarity will provide. It's going to allow banks to run alternative trading systems for digital assets. We just saw Marshall Hayner at the beginning of the show. Let's recap this about what Metallicus is going to do and what his predictions are. Marshall's predictions are for this year right now. All markets are down, right? So he sees the stock market's down, crypto's down, and now we see a time when there's a lot of people building. It may not be enough. It's not loud. So things are going to change over this year where the market goes up and down. Cycles, I guess bull cycle, you could call it. We will have this technology embedded into the credit unions. This is an alternative system for the banks. These are the smaller banks, the credit unions, right? They're not under the FDIC. They're under the NCUA. They've embedded this technology into the credit unions. Each credit union is going to have their own blockchain, their own subnet, probably their own stable coin, right? So this year, his predictions are you're going to see the first MetalPay API Metallicus integrations go live into credit unions. So think about that MetalPay app. All the credit unions are going to have that this year from what I'm seeing. I don't know if it's all of them, but it seems like they've signed up a credit union every week for the past couple of years. Let's see. We're going to begin to see the credit union and banking world get much more integrated with this tech. He predicts you'll see the first credit union bank-based stablecoin due to this new legislation passing. And Metallicus has got them set up and ready to go, guys. What else do we have here? So that was an alternative trading system, like Smoke Dog talking about. It gives retail and institutional clients regulated access to digital markets. And it clarifies legal boundaries for the asset classes. We saw where, let's see if I can remember, you've got digital securities, digital commodities, digital tools, and digital or stable coins, right? I think that's right, yeah. So we finally have definitions. That took years. That took 10 years to get definitions of what these things actually are. Okay, it reduces the risk enforcement actions and conflicting rules. Don't forget, a lot of these credit unions are state-based credit unions. And they have, if a stable coins, this is under the Genius Act, if a stable coins market cap is under $10 billion, then the states will regulate the issuer of the stable coin. So the smaller stable coins, the states are going to regulate. And that's going to be some of these credit unions. They're not going to have a $10 billion market cap when they open up. So they're definitely going to be regulated by the states. Or the NCUA, I would think that they're working together. So it enables banks to offer digital custody and tokenized asset platforms. It's going to support blockchain integration into the banking services. It's going to increase investor confidence. Well, there you go. That's a bull case right there with consistent oversight. It boosts demand from institutions, corporate treasuries, and high net worth clients. It helps gain market share. It helps early moving banks gain market share as trusted providers. These banks better get on board or they will get left behind. I think we all get left behind if we don't get on board with this stuff, right? What's up, Lizard King? XRP is money. Yes, sir. It sure is. Eleanor is saying that she got word from Tom Tillis's office that they plan to publicly release legislative text next week detailing the stablecoin yield rewards provisions. Talks with the stakeholders continues. So we'll see what happens with that. The yields are, there's different types of yields. So, you know, there might be ways around this stuff if they do limit the yields, like on-chain rewards. You know, if it's us, you know, most of these laws, guys, are dealing with entities and KYC and know your customer and BSC, all these, it's the entities that have to abide by the laws that are coming out. So it might not fall under if it's just me on chain earning whatever from a stable coin. You know, I mean, look at MetaX lending, and you got all this going on. This is APY. So this is there going to be a difference between the stable coin and the actual digital asset, the volatile digital asset? I don't know. And I do know one thing that no one's talking about is how this isn't the only issue. Everybody's saying it's the main issue, but the big issue is they're still debating, from what I understand, they're still debating on whether or not to let public stock markets be issued on public chains. It's insane. They want public stock markets to be issued on private chains. The back-end DTCC Supreme Ledger, private ledger. And then they're going to mirror those assets over to these public chains like Canton or XRP Ledger, whatever. They're going to mirror those chains over to the public chain and then mirror it back to reflect it on their private chain. That's because the real value is actually going to live on the private chain, on the back end, if it's only allowed to be issued on these private chains. Now, you do have exceptions with the SEC, you know, like Franklin Templeton, some of these on-chain money market funds and things. Those, the SEC has already given permission to issue those directly native on-chain to be issued. But as far as a public stock, they're trying to push that to be made to be issued on a private back-end chain and only mirrored to the front-end chain. So what you're going to have is public markets on private chains and private markets on public chains. Does that make any sense? I mean, that's backwards, right? You should have public markets on public chains and private markets on private chains, right? But no, it's backwards. It's public markets like the stock market. They're going to tokenize it natively on these private DTCC chain, like the Hyperledger or whatever on their back end. And then they can mirror it over to other ledgers on the front end. So that's to let you know what's going on, what's going to be going on in the background. Because you're going to get a token of a token, right? They're going to tokenize the stock on the private ledger, DTCC private ledger, and they're going to tokenize that token. So you're only going to get a token of a representation of the of the real world asset. But there is talks to issue these directly on public chains. So, I mean, that's gonna lead private markets to just take over. If it's going to be like that, where you're going to give up control of your stock to the DTCC when you could have it all on your own, issue it on your own public chain. It's pretty wild. The move comes after Coinbase and other stakeholders were unsatisfied with the perimeters of the deals shown to the small group of industry leaders. See, again, small group of industry leaders. Why is that holding up Congress? Why does a small group of industry leaders hold up a bill? All right. Coinbase's global head of investment research says that industry leaders are currently working on coordinating counterproposal to explain why targeted changes are needed to protect consumers and preserve sustainable rewards programs. I mean, you got to be careful. They act like they're trying to help us out, but they're getting 35% on their back end on your state assets, your state coins. So knowledge is power, guys. That's why we go over this stuff. I did start following ISO Ledger recently. Make sure you give James Dula 82 a follow. Got a lot of good info coming out. It says the covered call ETF delay to April 25th is actually the receipt that matters here. Let me break down why this is significant. Covered calls ETFs aren't for retail moonshot buyers. Covered call ETFs. Let's. Okay, let's. How about we ask? Yeah, let's do the little ask here. Hey, can you explain what a covered call is?
A covered call is a financial strategy used by investors who already own a particular stock. They sell call options on that stock to generate income. If the stock's price stays below the option's strike price, the investor keeps the premium from selling the call and still retains the stock. Essentially, it's a way to earn extra income on shares an investor already owns.
Okay. So with these ETF cover calls, they're not for retail moonshot buyers. They're for pension funds that need yield with defined risks. Income desks that can't hold speculative assets without structured exposure. Portfolio managers who just need to justify their XRP allocation to compliance committees. This product doesn't exist until XRP is mature enough to write these options against it reliably. So options are everything in writing. The fact that this is being built all means that institutions are pricing XRP as a stable enough asset to sell covered calls on. That's big right there. Liquidity and stable enough to sell these covered calls. You won't write covered calls on meme coins. You'll write them on assets you expect to hold long term with predictable behavior. Silverday says, shout out to Kenyon, the co-pilot. Yeah, man. Cool little AI assistant there. Lizard says, we all know how they do pension funds. Yeah, that's right, Lizard. April 25th, timing is interesting. That's right after the Clarity Act banking markup post-Easter. April 25th timing is when they delayed the ETF cover calls until. This is right after the first TXPSE drop. I don't know what that is. TSPSE drop on April 6th, right after the OCC. I mean, that's not a new coin, is it? TX PSE drop. Hey, what is this post referring to? PSE drop, the TX PSE drop.
This post is discussing a covered call ETF delay and how it matters for the market. The mention of the TXPSE drop refers to the first TXPSE drop happening on April 18th, which is a key date mentioned. Essentially, the post is highlighting important upcoming dates and events in the financial market.
Well, he didn't really tell us what the PSE drop is. Right after the OCC charters, April 1st. God, lots coming in April, guys. That looks like our month. I know I say it every single month. Right after the OCC charter. Oh, yeah, the charter. I forgot what they're doing. April 1st. What are they allowing banks to whatever on April 1st? OCC charter, Office of Comptroller Currency. This delay isn't weakness. It's waiting for regulatory runway to be fully cleared before launch. The oil gets into the system slowly, then all at once. And Evernorth, yes, eyes on that week, 473 million XRP at 656 million Treasury, NASDAQ ticker XRPN. That's the domino, says ISO Ledger. Yeah, and Evernorth is ready for that lending protocol. They are going to lend out that money. They're going to be the lenders of last resort, right? Just like Via said years ago. That means that we can do the same thing. We can lend our money once that single-sided, single-asset XRP lending protocol goes into effect. That's going to be the deal changer right there, guys. Oh, wow, I've been on a little over an hour and 10 minutes. Thank you guys for tuning into the show. All right, who we have in the chat today? We had Lizard King, Silver Days. We had Turple Nurple, Ravenous 1337. What's up, Ravenous? Good to have you on the show, bud. Silver Days, of course. Legendary. Cool. Hope you guys have a great Saturday. We'll see you on the next one. MrConectr out. Peace, guys.
It's just an accounting ledger. It's just an accounting ledger. I want to invest in something because how the books and records are kept. It's almost immutable. It's just an accounting ledger. I want to invest in something because how the books and records are kept. Trust it more than an Oracle database. Invest in something because how the books and records are kept. How the books and records are kept. How the books and records are kept.